Bang, bang. I'm a taxi driver. Bang, bang.
Give me the fare and I'll take you where you want to go. Bang, bang.
Bang, bang.
What this is.
So good.
My choice.
Welcome to Drum and Drummer, a podcast focused on drums, drumming and drummers. I'm George Pickering and that's Ben Winty, and we are both professional drummers in this business we call music. So stick around and join us as we pass the time whilst trying to stay in time.
The Acrolife.
Yeah, there we go. That's the episode
That's
title.
The episode title. Fucking hell.
Living that Acrolife.
Welcome to Drum and Drummer.
Oh, he started with an Were you going to say something else and then change tack?
No.
Tack? Is it tack or tact?
Tack, I think.
Cool, we fucked this already.
It's a sailing term. You have to change tack. Yeah. My dad tried to get me to sail. No, thank you. Don't like the water. Don't like it, mate. Don't like it.
Yeah.
Specifically, don't get me wrong. I love water. I love nature's milk. I drink
you just said
it.
you don't like it. Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
I try to drink a lot of it because I'm an aging fat bald man.
Got it.
Apparently, all medicine points to just drink more water. It helps you out. But you have to pee 4 times a night. Anyway, don't like the water. I don't like big open water.
No.
You know, because you don't know what's below, innit?
No, exactly.
And so, yeah, Dad tries to get me to sail. Land's great. I'll take land, actually. Because you don't really fall through it. You can just sort of stay level, you know? And that's where all the burgers are. Anyway. But I
Family Guy bit. Oh, go on.
I even don't like... Go on. No.
Where Lois is trying to get Stewie to swim. And she's like, go on, Lois. Go on, Stewie. It won't bite. And he's like, you drown it, woman. That's the problem. You know? It's a good point. It's a good point.
It's a good point.
Anyway, go on. Yeah, go
on. It even stems to... I don't like swimming in video games when you have to go below the water.
That sort of makes sense. Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel trapped. My own breathing starts to struggle.
Yeah.
I used to have this PS2 game as an Indiana Jones game, and this whole bit of this level was in the water. You had to dive down.
You ever done snorkeling? Just with a little snorkel? That's weird.
Because
I'd just
breathe it straight into my lungs.
This is it, and you have to breathe through a little tube, and it just throws you off because you're like, no, but my head's underwater. I can't breathe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I just put the goggles on and look at the fish. You know, but you got to find a place that has fish. You know, which is hard in England. You know, easy abroad, but in Bognor Beach, you're not going to go snorkeling there.
Nah,
anyway, that's besides the point. God,
I also got stung by a jellyfish. I also got stung by a jellyfish when I was a kid in Tunisia.
Do you think we're getting more ADHD as these episodes go on?
You keep saying ADHD. You just keep saying it. You know, and
do you know why?
I've not asked you
people
directly.
Listen to it. Yeah,
but
I got
have you just been diagnosed or something?
All of my friends have diagnosed me with ADHD.
Right.
Because when I talk to them, I can't stay on a topic, you know.
Yeah.
So not officially through a doctor, but I think the signs are pretty clear.
Do you need a doctor?
Know what I mean? This is it. Yeah, exactly. It's like I don't need a doctor to tell me I'm bald. You know, you can see it, and the fact that I can't stick on topic for 7 seconds. What were you even going to start with on this episode?
Well, I'll go into the start now. Yeah. This episode comes out on... we got a guest today. I'll see if I can give you some clues.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right. This episode comes out on Thursday. Yeah?
Yeah.
We recorded it on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Any ideas?
No, actually.
No. Okay.
No.
This week we are joined by Tucker Rule. First off, what a great name.
Amazing.
So I think some people are just blessed with good names, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
Grayson Nakutram.
Mike Rocket.
Yeah.
Great name. Great name.
Great
Tucker
name.
Rule. Great name.
Tyler Todd.
They're all there. Barney Barnes. You know what I mean? Neville. Tucker is currently the drummer in a band called LS Dunes, but he's also the drummer, and probably best known for being the drummer in Thursday. Many of you may not know who Thursday are, but they are they're a very important band in the sort of punk emo hardcore scene that came out of New Jersey in the very late 90s, early noughties. I've been a big fan for years, so it's an absolute privilege to talk to Tucker. It's hard to get out. And he joined us from his car. In a Drum and Drummer first.
Yeah.
He joined us from his car. He's heading out on tour next week, or he will be on tour when this comes out. Started his tour throughout America with LS Dunes, touring their new album, Violet, which came out in January. Great chat. Let's just go straight in.
Yeah, let's go straight in.
Here's our chat with Tuckaroo from LS Dunes on Thursday. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. By the way, I'm not driving.
Okay. What car are you driving? Got nice tan seats.
It's a Volvo. Yeah, it does the job. Yeah, they're very comfy to sit in, so that's good.
That's great. Where are you joining us from?
I'm in New Jersey in a parking lot outside of a coffee shop, and my daughter is running around with my mom. Okay. So we're good.
Awesome.
That's a first for us, I think, on Drum and Drummer.
Yeah. Live from the car.
Yeah, someone from in their car, but I love it.
Yeah.
Might ask more people to be in different places, you know.
Yeah, it brings a little spice to the chat. You know?
I think it does. Yeah, definitely.
Well, we'll get started if that's all right. We just want to have a nice chat about your career and drums and things. So the main thing, LS Dunes. You had a new album come out recently, and you're heading off on tour on Tuesday. Is that right?
Yes.
It's like a month-long tour of the US?
Something like that, yeah.
Obviously, like, I've toured a bit in the UK. It's a comparatively small country compared. So we can do a lot of it, in a car in a few hours. So
yeah,
I guess kind of like with your experience over the years, how are you individually and how are you guys as a band? How are you sort of prepping for this tour?
I feel like, again, we've all been doing this together for a very long time and separate for a very long time. So we all kind of know the drill. We all play on our own, a lot. This band is made up of people that are always picking up their instruments, whether it be, at home or at, practicing by yourself. We really just love to play together and on our own. So we're always prepared musically. But, at our age and these days, it's kind of hard to get prepared mentally, especially how busy our schedules are. I literally just spent, between both of my bands, I spent the last 8 weeks in Europe. So I feel like crazy. So I've been home for 2 weeks, and then you said I leave Tuesday. So I don't have a lot of time at home. So hence living in my car right now.
Is that something that becomes a struggle then? Having to say bye to family life and go on tour again?
It does. We started LS Dunes over the pandemic, not thinking about, having anyone even hear it. It was just so we could all, kind of write together and just play, when no one could meet up in real life. But then it turned into now I have 2 full-time bands, between Thursday and LS Dunes. So, and both schedules on their own are rigorous. So when you splice the two together, it's like chaos. But it's good. It's good chaos. It's not a bad problem to have. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people who are better musicians than I am who wish they were out doing it more often. So I try to be as grateful as possible, even if I am, dog tired.
How's over the years touring? Has anything sort of changed for you in how you approach it, how you feel about it, anything like that?
I've always taken it very seriously, but back in the early days, we used to drink and party and all that stuff. But now I'm almost 9 years sober. Most of the people in my bands are pretty much sober as well. So, we go to the gym every day and, we kind of try to keep healthy and, keep some sort of routine. I've noticed that, life gets a little unruly when you don't have a routine. And touring and being away and traveling from a suitcase and living on a bus can take you out of your routine. But you have to I've learned that you got to find a new routine, within where you are. as well as, trying to stay present in where you are at the moment is a big thing too,
What sort of things do you try and create a routine from?
Definitely try to exercise, definitely try to do my best to eat well, and I lately I've been on this kick where I'm going to try to not eat after I play, you know what I mean? So it's like I can go to bed without, you know, devouring an entire pizza, to wake up and feel shitty the next day. So, but also, we like our morning coffee, we'll do a coffee run and go hang out, I want to be a person that is able to like go out and explore during the day and then go do my job. I don't want to be sitting on the bus constantly, staring at my phone.
Is that how it used to be then, would you say, in the earlier tours?
I feel like, I mean,
phone, but
I kind of really love life before the phone, you know what I mean? Because you actually had to be social and hang out with your friends on your bus or in your van and actually talk and have conversations. And I feel like, now it's very common to see, five best friends in a room together, just not talking and staring at their phone and texting each other instead of actually speaking, which is super weird. Like, and now that they've, you're allowed to do stickers on your iMessage. We not only do we text each other, but we make stickers of photos and send them to one another as well. So it's really just digressed into a very antisocial social media.
Well, do you know what? This brings up a question. This just popped into my head, and you're the perfect person to ask as someone who's been touring for however many years.
100 years.
Yeah, this is it. Phones at gigs. Have you, I mean, obviously everyone films at gigs now. How do you feel about that? I just want to ask because
it's a double-edged sword because I'm kind of a psycho. Like after the gig, I'll usually like lay in my bunk and kind of like scroll through Instagram, looking up who took videos of the shows and watching them back to kind of critique myself, you know what I mean? And, just see how it sounds and such. But I also, it's funny, I understand that people like to capture moments and like to, go back and look at these things or post them. And I appreciate that. But it's also kind of a detriment because I know a lot of bands, especially, both of mine, it's very hard to play a new song that is not out yet because once somebody captures that on video, then that's what lives forever. You know what I mean? So if you're like, all right, we have this song coming out tomorrow, we're going to play it for you tonight. Like, that's kind of scary because what if we screw it up? What if, it's, you always want people to hear the recorded version first, in my opinion, because that's the one that's meant to be forever.
Has that meant over the years of both Thursday and LS Dunes, has that changed how you approach releasing records at all?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that it has. I don't really remember, but I know other bands, people, will post a song that no one's heard yet, and people kind of critique that. And, it kind of sucks the fun out because when you have something, as an artist, when you have something new, you want to play it right away. And, we always talk about like, oh, we should just, write a whole record. And before we put it out, we'll just play the entire record for a crowd, but you can't really do that because that's people's lasting impression of the song or the songs, plural.
You touched on LS Dunes being formed during COVID. How did that come about, and what were your expectations from doing it?
Well, it kind of came about as like I had a newborn at the time. She was born in March of 2020, so literally as soon as the pandemic started. She's now 5, and I know that because the pandemic was 5 years ago. And I feel like no one was sure when music was going to come back, right? So I had this idea like, oh, let me like build a room in my garage and put a studio in it because I feel like people are going to still write music even if they can't get together. I want to learn how to record myself so I can like play on other people's records or solo artists or do demos or whatever, So I learned via YouTube and asking friends like how to record and how to use Pro Tools. And, I feel like at that point I had this setup and I was like, I wanted to try it out. And, I've got a few close friends that I always, play and write with that I was like, hey, let's try to write some stuff. I got this new rig and, they also kind of had their home set up. So, and that was LS Dunes.
Are you guys all spread over the country?
We are all LS Dunes is all basically New Jersey. One person lives in Nyack, which is just, above New Jersey, just like very close. And then Anthony lives in Pennsylvania. So we're all like within an hour of one another. And same with Thursday, Steve from Thursday, the guitar player, who it's his 50th birthday today, which is crazy. Happy birthday, Steve. He lives like 10 minutes from me. And then Jeff, our singer, lives in Brooklyn, where my wife and I used to live. Like, we used to be neighbors in Brooklyn. So it's, everyone's relatively close.
Because I was going to say, like, because I know, LS June's like the guys in the band, all from different bands. I just wondered, if anyone was like West Coast, and
we're so busy that they might as well all live in Australia. You know what I mean? Like, the furthest you could possibly get away, because we're all like, when we're together, it's like lightning in a bottle, but when we're not, it's like ships passing in the night. You know what I mean?
So as LS Tunes is somewhat of a supergroup, did you ever get pressure from, I don't know, audiences saying that they want you to play a song by a band, Thursday or My Chemical Romance, or are they pretty on board with it?
I think they know better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we didn't start this band to mimic other bands, you know what I mean? Especially our own. We started this band to have fun and to, put smiles on people's faces, you know what I mean? I don't know. Obviously, being in the band, I'm so close to it, but like, I don't know. If I saw like a bunch of people from other bands that I liked coming into town, I'd be psyched and I'd be smiling. So I think that's all we kind of want to do. Like, at this age, this is the most fun I've had in a very long time. So it's really, Ellis Dunes has brought a lot of joy into my life, like, that I can't even put into words. I mean, same with Thursday. Writing a couple new Thursday songs in the past couple years brought it's reinvigorated the whole band. It's truly, I hate to say this, but I'm blessed to have all these people that want to play music with me. It's pretty awesome.
I was watching the making of Violet on YouTube, your new album, and there was a bit where you were talking about how it's the best thing you've done. I don't want to misquote you. Is that in terms of drumming, or is that in terms of a whole album, or?
I think all in all, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of, anytime you do something new, you want it to be the best thing you've done. And I always generally feel like that. Like the new Thursday song, I feel like is the best thing I've done. The new Dunes record, I just always trying to get better. But I am extremely proud of Violet, and I'm extremely proud of how it came together, and I love the way it sounds. And I can't believe that I'm a part of that record. You know what I mean? Same with Past Lives, same with any Thursday record. It's I don't know. You put your heart and soul into it. You know what I mean? So and you feel it in your core. And
yeah, well, I saw that as well in the video. You talking about you just leave it all there, leave it in the room.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I love that, because that's so true. You want to be exhausted by the end of it. You're like,
yeah, if you're not like screaming and cursing by the end of recording, then you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially, no matter how prepared you are, the producer of the band's always going to be like, hey, can you just change up that fill and play it perfectly right on the spot right now? And you're like, okay, well, fuck. Pardon my French. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta go all in. You know what I mean? I don't think that writing and recording music is something that you can kind of tiptoe around. You know what I mean? It's like, you're in the mud, you're in the trenches, and you either like sink or swim. You know what I mean? And
because it's there forever, right?
There forever.
Look back and be like, oh, I could have done that. Could have put more into that.
Definitely.
Yeah, go on, Ben.
Do you find that's quite important? I really like recording, playing on records, and I really like that. I want it to be the best representation of me and the band and the music I'm playing, even if I'm playing for someone else. And I really like having those tangible assets of like, this is what we've done. And I kind of prefer that over live performance. So is that something that's like you prioritize? Like, you really enjoy the kind of recorded nature of music?
I really do. Yeah, I really enjoy being in the studio. I really enjoy writing. I really enjoy writing in the studio as well. And I like the pressure of just like we were saying before, I like the pressure of someone being like, hey, can you play this differently right now forever? You know what I mean? Like, I like that pressure. Like, I feel like a lot of people work best under deadlines. I'm one of those people. You know what I mean? Like, I like that. I like that pressure. But it's also funny. I really like, I love playing live. Like that's my all-time favorite. But it's so strange that like when you record a song or a record, that's the worst you are at that song or that record. You know what I mean? You only get good at playing these songs when you play them live. You know what I mean? Like that's when they start coming to life. So when you're in the studio and you're like laying down the drums, it's like you're still figuring it out as it's being solidified forever. You know what I mean? That's the crazy part about it. It's kind of like a mind fuck. And then when you get on the road, they kind of like come to life and you figure out like, oh, this is the way to like round out that square part a little bit. And, you know, you kind of relearn the song and, you know, I'm sure, you know, y'all are the same way. As soon as you finish a drum take in the studio and that's the drum take, 5 minutes later, you're like, I should have changed this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you find yourself changing much when you start playing the song live? Do you try and stay authentic? Any bits you think, fuck, why did I make this bit so hard? I've got to do it every night.
Always. I always try to write things that I can't typically play. You know what I mean? Again, that's the fun pressure, and I think that's what's, you know, when you expand your vocabulary is that's fun to me. But yeah, I mean, I try to stay authentic. You know, I feel like if when I'm going to see a show, if I'm going to see Tool or something, I don't want to hear Danny Carey play something differently that's on the record. I want to hear that record. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Danny Carey can play everything. I'll probably love it anyway. But, you know, but you want to hear those exact things. You know what I mean? Because that's what you've grown up air drumming to. Or, like, you know, I don't really necessarily want to hear it changed up. I mean, that doesn't mean that when drummers do that, I'm upset about it. Like, I like when people do whatever they want. You know, I like freeform stuff, too. But for me, I like to stay as pretty close to the recorded version as possible because I that's what people are used to hearing.
So was the first album, Past Lives, was that recorded remotely?
It was a lot of demos in our respective home studios, and then we drove down to Philly and went to Will Yip, and I remember it was just Frank and I in the studio kind of laying down the drum tracks with Will, and then I went there while Frank was recording guitar tracks, and then Travis and Tim did their stuff at home, and then sent it to Will to reamp, which is technology is so cool and so crazy. So that almost that whole record for Travis and Tim is basically reamped. And then Anthony went there to do vocals. So yes, it was recorded pretty much all separate.
And did you, when you came to recording Violet, did you change all that? Did you all get in the studio together? Did you write together?
It was half and half because of our schedules. You know, we did a lot of writing separate, but then we got into the studio. We were in the studio for pre-production for like a good week, and we all kind of hashed through the songs and rewrote things and changed things up, and were able to like kind of come together in the studio to you know, kind of put the pieces exactly where they needed to be to then record them. So we wanted to have a different story on this record.
So what you're saying about because it is so true about if you play a song live after you've recorded it, you do change things. And I think with that first album, was it when you took that one, you know, and played that live, was that the biggest example of that? I can imagine, just in terms of, I mean, if you guys weren't even in the same room to write the album, you know, most of you, and then you kind of play it at a show, is it like, oh my God, I'm going to play this thing differently? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's really weird that, you know, we had the record done and recorded, and we actually had our first practice after that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like, oh my God, like, do these songs actually work together? And luckily they did. Luckily it all kind of was like, it gave me the same feeling as like playing the, you know, the First Thursday records or something like that. You know, it was the same kind of like, okay, this works. This is awesome. Like your hair stands up in your arms. You get like all that adrenaline, you know? So, you know, but yeah, I mean, there's always that fear of like, okay, like a lot of music is written separately now. Like, is it going to be good when it's performed together?
Yeah, because I can imagine Thursday is the opposite of that, you know. It's like how a band is in that you probably toured it, you know, and then came to record it, you know what I mean? You sort of play these shows
exactly
as it is, you know. So it's like quite a backwards way to do it. So it is, totally. It's like a risk. I've had it before with a band where we recorded actually at Ben's studio, and then we started playing it live and went, I think these all need to be faster, you know? And I don't know if it was because we were 18 and we were like, everything play. But then you listen to the track, you're like, God, it's slow. Like, we're playing this slow, you know? Like, yeah.
We do, in LS Dunes, we do a lot of stuff to a click just to keep it kind of, you know, a similar show every night. And we, you know, I always bump it up, you know, like 4 or 5 BPM from the record, just because I know that, like, when you're up there and your adrenaline is going, if you're playing record tempo, it feels like you're literally running in mud.
Yeah.
You know, and whether it probably sounds better out front to the crowd, but to us, it's like, oh my God, we're barely moving.
Yeah, literally. I had it with my first band when I was 15 or 16. I was like, hey guys, I've heard about this thing called a metronome, you know, a click track. Maybe we should try it, you know? And and we were playing, we got to like the second chorus of a song that we always play and went, God, why is it so slow? And it wasn't. It was just, we were finally in time. We were like, this is shit, you know? Weird.
I don't know about you guys, but like I came from like a hardcore and punk rock background where music is fast and angry and angsty and unhinged. And the best part about it is it always felt like it was going to fly off the rails. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's what we try to bring to all our bands. You know what I mean? That's how Thursday started. That's how all these other bands that are in LS Dunes started, you know, just from that, you know? So we're used to kind of like crushing along, you know, going fast and like, you know, trying to rip through the set. But, you know, as you get older and now audiences are getting bigger and people are getting older. So you're not only playing for the front row of the room, you're playing for the, you know, the dads that drop their kids off at the show, at the back of the room at the bar, you know, who are just trying to casually watch a band. And, you know, not everybody wants the band to just go crazy. Some people want to hear the song played really well. And that's, you know, so it's the balance of the two things, you know, like blood, sweat, and tears on stage, but at the same time, like wrangling it in and sounding good at the same time.
Going back to, I mean, like the band's made up of some guys from some pretty iconic bands. Coheed and Cambria, My Chemical Romance, you and Tim on bass from Thursday. How do you guys how's that dynamic work with you all coming from quite big institutions, really? Any egos to deal with? My band do it this way, you know, anything like that? Or is it all pretty?
No, it's not at all. We kind of, that's kind of why we made it up of these people. It's because it's just, I feel like LS Dunes, we wanted it to be like a fun place for all of us to go. You know what I mean? Not only the people in the band, but the people in the crowd, you know, like this is a place where like everybody has a voice. Everybody, you know, brings something to the table. We try to finish everybody's ideas, you know, even if somebody's idea comes in and it's like, oh, this sounds weird. Like we try to finish it. You know what I mean? It's a very fun place to quote unquote work. But no, there's no ego in the band. There's nothing like that, you know. And you know, you got Frank, who's in the biggest band in the world, and then you know, and he's just a normal guy. You know, Travis is just a normal guy. You know, we just really love to play music, and we've spent a lot of time, you know, practicing to get pretty good at our instruments. You know what I mean? And it's a fun place to be for sure.
Have you ever had like, this is a great idea, but it sounds too much like My Chemical Romance for us to do? Anything like that? Because I can definitely hear on the record like little guitar licks. I'm like, you can definitely hear that's Frank, and you can hear this blend, but yeah, it's still something very, very different. So I wonder if you ever had to be like, well, that might be a bit too close to Thursday.
No, it's never been like that. You know, this is a whole different band than any of those other things, obviously. But you're going to hear, you know, Travis's kind of Coheed background in LS Dunes. You're going to hear, obviously, Anthony's Circa background. You're going to hear Tim and I, you know, doing similar stuff as we do on Thursday, because everybody has a style of playing, you know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of this band, is that all these styles coming together to make something completely new and different. So nothing ever is going to sound like a My Chem song or like a Circa song or a Coheed song. You know, it's got its own heartbeat, its own pulse And of course, you're gonna, like I said, you're gonna hear the influence, and you're gonna hear the style of playing in there somewhere. And I think those are the fun little eggs, the little Easter eggs that people can pick up on.
Do you feel like, in general, all of you guys, that there's a bit less pressure on you guys, like on your writing and your performing? Because, I guess when your band has such a big name, that maybe there's expectations of you, but with this, you could maybe just be a bit more free. And
yeah, I mean, that's the fun part about it is any expectations, we kind of just, I mean, like, we can go away at any time. You know what I mean? Like, we all have other bands. So if something wasn't working or we weren't having fun, like, we could just go away and revisit this another time. But we love it so much that we want to be here and we want to do it. You know what I mean? That's what makes us leave our homes for extended periods of time. You know what I mean? Is because we love it. It's not that we have to be here. We just love being here.
how important is your relationship with Tim? Like, both being in Thursday, both being in LS Dunes, like that drum and bass locking on. Have you guys always just had that great relationship between the two instruments? And was it your idea to get Tim involved in LS Dunes?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, Tim is probably the best musician I've ever played with. The thing about Tim is that he makes me a better drummer. He makes me sound better than I am. He's absolutely fantastic, and I've used this term about him a lot. He's a fucking monster on the bass, and he's a monster songwriter. So having him, like, literally is the biggest favor life has ever dealt me, because he makes me sound better, and I've never had to worry about him catching up to my beat or anything like that. I can literally write whatever I want on the drums, and I know he's gonna nail it down for me. If I'm going too far left of center, he'll be right down the middle crushing it. And so I have pure fucking freedom.
Do you find it's different than when you play with different bassists? Is it like, I haven't got my guy?
No, I mean, I'm lucky. A lot of the people that I've played with over the years are also monsters, you know what I mean? And I just kind of all lean on them as I would Tim. And I think that everybody who I guess everybody who I play with is pretty much a monster.
I got to ask about, because you're from New Jersey, Thursday from New Jersey. As someone who lives in England, I sort of see New Jersey as, Bruce Springsteen. And beyond that, I'm not really sure. But am I right in saying it was quite there was a lot of hardcore bands around at that time, like in the 90s
Yes.
and stuff?
Yeah, New Jersey was a huge mecca for, like, hardcore music and punk music. You've got bands like Bouncing Souls. You got, bands like the Gaslight Anthem, Midtown, My Chem. The thing about Jersey is we're so close to New York City too, so kind of the tri-state area kind of melded into one scene, you know what I mean? So we were really, and still are, I feel like, a very, very hot button for music. And I feel very lucky that I was able to grow up there, where I could go see a band pretty much any night of the week, whether it be in Jersey or drive to New York City, or even go down to Philly. You know what I mean? So it's a very hot spot for music.
Do you think is it almost kind of like in the same way Seattle? I don't know about the weather. Is it sort of like a weather thing where it's sort of like it might not be great, so everyone just gets in a garage and makes music?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Like, we've got very Seattle / England looking weather right now today.
Yeah.
And I think that does lend to it, you know what I mean? Because it's like, on days like this, what are you gonna do? It's like, and pick up the sticks and learn a new riff, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think that might have something to do with it. I also think that, places like Seattle, England, is a place where, people kind of flock to. A lot of creatives flock to that kind of place. And when you put a bunch of creatives in one area, you're bound to come up with something pretty cool.
I mean, if we can go back...
Yeah, go on, Ben.
To Thursday, I mean, we got the email about chatting to you, and War All the Time was my soundtrack, part of my soundtrack to my first year at uni back in 2003. So
Amazing.
I was like, wow, okay. So this was pretty cool. Doing a bit of research, like, as we say, New Jersey, and you guys were playing, like, worked your way up from basement shows all the way up to, I think, a top 10 Billboard album. And More All the Time, I think, was first record on a major label.
Yes.
So I guess kind of like How was it for you, that journey from, it's a journey so many of us would, so many drummers would love to have, but kind of that dirty garage basement in New Jersey to top 10 Billboard album?
I mean, it was wacky, you know what I mean? Because we're just a hardcore band, you know what I mean? We started a band to try to play in our singer's basement. You know what I mean? That's all we wanted to do. And because we saw bands like Saves the Day and Hot Water Music and Refused and At the Drive-In play in his basement. So we were just like, oh, let's get a bunch of people so we can actually play with these bands that come through town. Like, that would be sick. And then we signed with a label called Victory. And then in order to get off Victory, we had to go to a major. And we were quite scared about that, because during that time, the word sellout was being thrown out a lot for other bands trying to get big, and make a living doing music. Isn't it funny? Like, people used to call you a sellout because you were trying to like make a living. You know what I mean? Like, people just want you to play music as your hobby. You know what I mean? Which is so ridiculous. Like, music can be a hobby, and there's no shame in being, playing on weekends. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, But, when you got people like us who put our whole lives on hold to go to work playing music, it's this word sellout is just ridiculous. That's why I don't think anybody talks about that anymore as a thing. But yeah, like, being on a major was the sellout move back in the day. You know what I mean? But we had to do it, and it was a crazy journey. But the major label world is a very revolving door. So everybody who you sign with is, and you're happy and you get comfortable with, and they all love your band. Suddenly, the next day, everybody gets fired or let go, or they move to a different company, and then you're left with people that have no idea who you are. And it's very like cutthroat and weird, and the ebb and flow of the music industry is insane. It's like a roller coaster, and people ask me all the time, like, "Oh, you're still doing it?" It's like, yeah, somebody's got to. You know what I mean? Like, I'll weather the storm. Some people can't weather the storm, and maybe they're smarter because they went off and did something else and got a real job and made an honest living. But I chose to like get hit in the head every single day and do the best I can in this roller coaster ride of music.
What were the sort of signing to Island? What was the sort of expectations, both from them and from you guys? What you kind of wanted to get out of it, and how did those expectations meet?
I think what we were expecting was, okay, this is a way that we could focus on making music and make another record. You know what I mean? Like, at the time, playing in basements and stuff, we all were kind of in our 20s, and it was about time to like, okay, play this show, go to whatever meaningless job we were working, you know what I mean, during the week. And signing to Island was like, oh, okay, this is our full-time job now, so we can kind of like focus on making music. Like, we knew we weren't going to be like Pink, like huge overnight star successes, you know what I mean? But we were like, all right, we can do this. We could tour the world. We can, we had people that wanted to see us play, and signing to a major and getting some money was a way to make us do that more, and that was enticing, because we loved playing live and we loved making records. But I think, at that time in the early 2000s, I remember, it was like, oh, you guys are like Guns N' Roses, and then Thrice is Motley Crue, or the Used are Motley Crue. And, it was like the major labels trying to snag all these bands like ours and turn them into this next like 80s hair metal group or something like that, like make us big like that. And I think we were always kind of like, okay, but probably not going to happen. Just so you know, we're just going to write our songs, you know what I mean, and do our thing. And so I think their expectation was trying to like pluck the scene and have this whole resurgence of bands like mine on private jets, you know what I mean, and that wasn't the thing. Music's changed so quickly after that. Everybody from that label had left, and a new head of a new CEO came in, and music kind of shifted from like rock and emo kind of more towards in hip hop, and that's when kind of Thursday was, we were on Warped Tour. We had just released The City by the Light Divided, and it did pretty well, but not well enough for the major label to be like, hey, we're gonna keep giving you tour support. They like cut our tour support, and so we were kind of on our own again. And that was kind of like a mind fuck. And then we stopped playing for a little while, for a couple of years, because we were touring so much, but not making enough money to live, and not being home enough to get a job to supplement that income. So it was kind of like, all right, we never stopped playing because we were like, hey, we quit, or we hate each other, or we're going to break up the band. It was just like, we need to take some time off to like gather some cash and like become human again, before we do anything creative. So
with this, with Ireland, do you feel like, I don't know, when you push back against them saying, oh, we're going to make you into this and that, did they sort of just accept it, or did you feel like you had to compromise certain things being on a major record label?
We never really brushed it off or pushed, we never really pushed back. We kind of just brushed it off. It was like, we were young. We didn't know what we were capable of, and we didn't know what we weren't capable of. We knew that we didn't want to go into the studio with a big name producer and write pop music and change the sound of our band. That's what we knew. We knew that wasn't going to happen. So we just kind of wrote our songs and made our records the way that we thought they were best. And did we try to deliver some singles? Yeah, but we did it in our writing style. You know what I mean? It wasn't by the book of what, pop music should be. So we in that way, I'll always be proud that we, kept our integrity. My bank account is not happy about that, but, at least we can all look in the mirror and be like, yeah, we did it the way that we wanted to do it, and the way that, we stuck to the Thursday is bigger than we are. You know what I mean? It's a very special thing and a very special place to be. So we always wanted to keep that sacred. And I think we did a good job of keeping it that way.
Did you have any moments kind of in that break where you were questioning how plausible it was to keep drumming as a career? Was there any like, maybe it is time to do something else?
No, I got really lucky because shortly after Thursday broke up, I had a bunch of other bands that I was playing in, like little bands, like fun stuff. And then I got a call from our product manager from Ireland to do this boy band called The Wanted, and I did that for a few years, and that was super fun. And then I did another band called Yellow Card for a few years, where I was a hired gun, and that was super fun. So I managed to like somehow Thursday stopped playing for a little while. A few months later, I got this pop gig, and then that went for a few years, and then a few months after that stopped, I got the Yellow Card gig. So I've remained somehow playing, throughout this whole rough seas, of stuff. And then Thursday kind of got back together, and then I started playing in Frank's band, Frank Iero and the Future Violence. So that kept me really busy, and we wrote a record with Steve Albini, and that was super fun. Here we are today. So I've managed to somehow like step on the lily pads in the pond and make it, stay relatively dry.
A couple of things. One, I love Yellow Card, so I'm incredibly jealous you got to play for them. Two, I wanted to touch on The Wanted because in doing research, and I was looking through your bios I could find and what you'd done, and I was like, Thursday, I was like, yep, love Thursday. Yellow Card, yep, love Yellow Card. My Chemical Romance, all these things you've done. And I was like, and you were the drummer for The Wanted, and if someone had asked me, who do you think the drummer is for The Wanted live, I'd absolutely no way on earth would I have ever thought, oh, it's going to be the drummer from Thursday. Like, it seems to me it's like two completely different worlds colliding. So did that come about because you guys were on Ireland?
It came about because when Thursday stopped playing, I remained friends with a person that worked at a label named Eric Wong. And now Eric's like the head of Universal Music, I think. He's like crazy, awesome guy. And I called him and I was like, hey, listen, Thursday's kind of coming to an end for a little while and I don't have any gigs. I was like, and so if you have any artists that are up and coming, or if you have any bands that come through the your front door that need to do a showcase or anything, like I would love to, I still want to work as a drummer. Like, and he's like, yeah, I'll keep an ear out for you, like, I'll let you know what happens. And at the time, I was doing like this band called Murphy's Law, which is like a legendary New York hardcore band. They've been around for like nearly 40 years, I think. So I was, you know, kind of ingrained and always grew up in the New Jersey, New York hardcore scene. So a week later, he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, he's like, I have a band that I want you to come in and do the showcase for. It's like next week, so you have like a few days to learn their set." And I was like, "Yeah, dude, like whatever." And he's like, "I want you to pick the band too. Like we need a guitar player and a bass player." So I was like, "Oh shit, all right. Like let me just pick who I know is really good, reliable, and who I'm friends with." So I picked my friend Eric Odness, who is a fantastic bass player who played in a band called Aegis with me. He played in this other band called Foreign Islands. And he was just a really good friend of mine. And then Brian Deneve, who played in From Autumn to Ashes, which is another hardcore band from Long Island. And Brian and I were always friends. And I was like, "Hey, do you guys want to play in this band? They're called The Wanted. I think it's like a punk band, but I'm not really sure what they sound like." And they were like, "Yeah, totally down." Like on a group chat.
Sounds like a punk band, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Sounds like it could be.
"Can you get us like we need to hear the music?" I was like, "Yeah, it's like next week. I'll hit Eric Wong from Island. I'll hit him up and I'll find out what you know what they're all about, you know, and I'll get some music so we can start working." So I called him back and I was like, "Hey, I forgot to ask you, like, what is it? Is it like a punk band? Like, what is it?" He's like, "No, it's a boy band." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Like a boy band, like 5 singers." And I was like In Sync? And he was like, "Yeah, like they're a boy band. It's a pop gig." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." He's like, "You still down?" I'm like, "Absolutely." And meanwhile, I'm like, "All right, like fake it till you make it, right?" Like that's always been the mantra, you know, like, "Oh, you know, play reggae?" Well, yes, I can. You know what I mean? Like, can I? I don't know. Maybe. But you fake it till you make it. So I told these guys, and they're like, "I don't know, man. A pop gig, I don't know if I want to do." I'm like, "Listen, let's just do it." So we got together in a room with these boys, and the musical director, David Whitney, was awesome. He kind of walked us through what we had to do, and we played our first gig with them in New York City. It was their first gig outside of England, and it was awesome. And we had a lot of fun, and it was at that moment that I realized, like, hey man, it doesn't matter what music you're playing as long as you're playing music, you know. And whether it was the coolest thing in the world at the time, I don't know, but to me it was like, this is super cool. Like hardcore band guy playing pop music, like literal pop music, like this is kind of awesome. And I had so much fun, and we all had so much fun, and it was a great ride and a wild ride. I love those boys to death. One of them passed away a few years back, Tom. He was a wonderful human being, and you know, so we still keep in touch with a lot of the guys, and you know, we made friends for life, and it was a really rewarding time. I met a lot of great people. I spent a lot of time in England, and it was a lot of fun. We did we played Ellen DeGeneres show. We played the Billboard Awards. We did Dancing with the Stars. We did, you know, you name it, American Idol. We did all these crazy shows. So it was a very big new world for me. You know, you kind of step in and you're like, you got to pinch yourself and be like, holy shit, like, first of all, you have to be perfect. You know, in a pop gig, you're playing the song so the singers don't turn around and look at you when you screw up. You know what I mean? You just step in and you do your job, and you do it on the grid, and you make them think that they're singing to their own record, and that's the way.
We're going to crank this one up 5 BPM, lads. Come on, let's give them a show.
Yeah, exactly. So the pressure's always on, and especially if you're playing a TV show, you know what I mean? You're like, you got to be perfect. It's not about you; it's about them. The band is invisible. It's just sounds. The cameras are on them.
Adjust anything, like all your years of sort of hardcore? Did you have to kind of readjust any of your technique or anything like that, or was it pretty smooth?
I mean, I did, because a lot of that kind of music is based on the kick, the doof doof doof, that kick that runs through the entire song. So if you're flamming the snare and the kick, you're fired. You know what I mean? That's the most important part of these gigs, is like that snare and kick is one entity. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing the disco beats, dude scuts. That's got to sound just like that. You know, so it was fun, and it was a learning curve, and it was definitely something that like kind of opened my eyes to like, oh wow, this is kind of simple music, but it's super hard to play. And not hard as in like, oh my God, I'm having such a hard time doing it. It's like you got to think about every single second. You know, you're not in a punk band where you're just blazing through the song and it's it's a visceral reaction between the crowd. It's like you're basically an invisible band playing the songs tight so these boys, can go up there and sing and do all the stuff that they need to do. And it's funny, I played the same drums that I would play with Thursday, the same size cymbals. I was like, I'm keeping some stuff for myself.
Yeah. So when you went from the Wanted back into playing with Thursday, was there anything that you sort of took from that,
I think that, I think I thought about my playing a little bit more. I think I thought about, kind of slowing things down a little bit, kind of playing better, like more focused on the nuance, not just trying to get through the songs. So I definitely think it put my live show under a microscope, in a good way. Where as a player, you're always wanting to play best because that's your selfish moment. You know what I mean? Well, I played great. You know what I mean? You always want to play great. But, if you're anything like me, every show fucking sucks because I'm chasing perfection and, it's impossible to be perfect. And it's impossible to even be close to perfect. So, being on, just thinking about it more and more and more and having fun while trying to play the best I can be is kind of something that I learned. Like I can't tell you how much fun it is just to play music. It doesn't matter what genre it is. It's fucking music, and we're lucky to be able to do it.
I read somewhere it said you've got quite a large collection of snares.
I do.
I'm trying to build mine. I think I'm up to about 14 now.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's a hefty number.
That's not bad. Yeah, I got a Acrolife in Florida actually, and I brought it home on the plane.
Nice.
What's your any particular favorites you've got in your collection?
I have a bunch. I have like 4 or 5 Keplingers that I love. They're steel shell made from this guy Greg Keplinger in Seattle, drum builder. I've got a few Craviatos. I've got all my Q snares are literally my favorites. I've got this crazy 38-pound bell bronze snare made by Q, which is awesome. All the Ludwig snares I have are truly just incredible. Like I've got a new Superphonic, a new Acrolite that I love. I got a Acro Copper that is sick. Yeah, I've got a lot of snare drums.
What's heading out on tour with you next week?
So I've got my Superphonic and my Acrolite, and I usually like to go back and forth between the two. Like I'll play one show on Superphonic, the next show I'll do on the Acrolite, just because I like. To me, it's like the snare is the heartbeat of the whole band, or the drum kit, the kick and the snare. The snare is more the personality, so I like to change the personality every night. It's also fun because you're like, oh, tonight's the Acrolite.
Do your bandmates feel like that's fun?
They have no idea.
I love it when you have those exciting drum things that the rest of your band think, absolutely, I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, they're like, oh, that one's loud. You're like,
yeah. This is it.
You're welcome.
So in general, what can people expect from if they come see you over the next month or so?
I'll be smiling and having a really great time, and you can expect that I'm grateful to be there, and I'm happy that people are coming and singing along and dancing, and even if you come and you're pissed off and you don't want to see the band, it'll be really hard to leave without a little bit of a smile or a smirk on your face.
Are you going to play any unreleased songs?
Hell no.
Awesome.
I don't know. Maybe. Is that going to get more people to come to the show? Yeah, maybe we will.
Yeah.
Tucker, thanks so much for joining us, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll let you crack on with your day. I'm sure you got loads to do before heading out next week.
Ben, are you not doing I know it's Tucker, but are you doing the final question that we've done for every guest? Oh, yeah. You are? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I thought I was like, Jesus, he's not doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
But before you leave,
right,
something we asked everyone, something is a little bit off kilter, but we've chatted to a few people from the US, so it's nice to get a different perspective. But who is your favorite delivery company?
Oh, man. I don't know. I got to say UPS.
Fair, yeah.
Only because it's funny. Real quick, the UPS driver. I have these. I have a welcome mat outside my house that has a dove on it, and he came to my house, and my wife answered the door, and he's like, "Oh, I like your welcome mat," and we're like, "Oh," and she was like, "Oh, yeah, we like it too," or whatever, and he, a couple weeks later figured out that I was the drummer of Thursday, who was, and so he and I became friends. So UPS.
There you go. Perfect.
Nice.
Brilliant. I think someone else from America said UPS. Can't remember who. The guy you bought the Acrolife from, maybe, Ben. Seems to be the American way.
You know what? My mom always said, never trust the blinker, right? You never know if that person's actually going to turn. But what I'm saying is always trust a man that has an Acrolife.
Yeah.
So
I think that's just a general life rule for everyone. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Acrolife.
Yeah, there we go. That's the episode title.
Fucking hell.
Living that Acrolife.
Thanks so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Ben, George, you guys are lovely. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much, Tucker.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Bye. There we go.
That was our chat.
Great.
With Tucker Rule. Great.
Tucker Rule.
Great stuff. Brilliant.
Great. When you're chatting to someone, it's great. But like you sort of said at the end, you do get a bit paranoid that A, he's in his car and his child is just off somewhere with a guardian.
Yeah.
He's not got long before he goes on tour.
Yeah.
And he's also holding his phone in the car.
Yeah.
So you start to get a bit slightly conscious of time.
You do. Yeah. But he was very gracious with the amount of time he gave us.
Was, absolutely. So, yeah. Thank you, Tucker,
It's a long time to be holding a phone,
It is. I often find that if I'm speaking to someone, I've got my phone held up to my ear.
Yeah.
Like after long, I'm like, heavy, innit? Do you know what I mean?
It is, yeah.
I'll put it down and put it on speaker.
But there's a metaphor to that. I remember someone saying if you hold something for too long, then it gets heavier, but the object isn't getting heavier. It's just holding that weight. So, a metaphor with life. If you're stressed about something, the longer you hold it, you know what I mean?
True.
So if you can put it down.
Problem shared is a problem halved.
Exactly.
If your phone's
Unless
too
it's
heavy,
AIDS.
put it down. Yeah. Then yeah.
If it's AIDS, then it's doubled if you share it. Cool. Should you cut that out?
I don't know. It's great. It was really good. Oh, see how I feel tonight when I edit it. Yes, thank you, Tucker. If you do live in America, because we don't, but I'd like to, go and see Ellis Dunes on tour. I'm sure they're playing in a state or city near you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big place, but
it's a big place.
Go check out their new album. Go and check out their album. And if you don't know who Thursday are, go and listen to their stuff as well. Great drummer, great bands. Right, do you want something funny?
Yeah, go on.
Finish us off with. Right. So I play in a band called Freshman Year. We play a lot of pop punk, emo, metal, that kind of rock, that sort of thing, alternative, tunes. We play the
covers.
Of course. Now,
for anyone who didn't know.
When clients book a band for our agency, they get to select a top 10 preferences. So from our repertoire, we have a standard set. We play the same every fucking week. But we give the illusion of control to the clients by saying, put your top 10 preferences from the repertoire, and the band will do their best to play them. Normally, we're playing most of them anyway, because we play the good ones. A lot of the time, I'll just clearly ignore their requests. And occasionally, like coming up, I've got a gig soon where the gay couple want us to play gay bar. We are going to play gay bar. We're going to learn that. Absolutely. That's the time to learn it.
Yeah.
Play it. Now, our agency did this for a while, and I think we all went, can you please stop doing this? Is they would put an option on the form for songs to not play. Do not play this song. I think we've spoken before. Someone didn't want Brown Eyed Girl at one of your gigs. And you think, why? Why don't they want that? What trauma is there? Anyway, so there is a do not play list for a gig I've got coming up with Freshman Year. It has, the first 3 are numbered. So I think they said, here's the option to put 3 songs down, do not play, because they don't want to take the piss. The client has, however, decided to add 16 more songs to that Do Not playlist. We've got like 19 songs Do Not Play. A few of them we have never played, and we probably never will. Because you're booking freshman year, right? Here's a list of some of the songs they don't want us to play that we play every gig. Are you ready?
Yep.
99 Red Balloons.
Right. Yeah.
Bleed American.
Okay.
Girl All the Bad Guys Want.
Yeah, that's weird.
High School Never Ends.
Okay.
I'm Not Okay.
Yeah.
Paramore, Misery Business. Alien Ant Farm, Movies.
Yeah.
Lit, My Own Worst Enemy.
Yeah.
Avril Lavigne, Skater Boy.
Just get another band.
This one will annoy you. Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Just get another band.
My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade.
Get any other band.
Chop Suey.
Yeah. Black Mental, yeah.
Killing in the Name. And Numb.
Wow.
I mean, They've obliterated our set list there.
Yeah. So what do they want? Have they said what they do
Well, to be fair, they've put a top 10, but they've also added another sort of 15 songs they do want. And a lot of them we do play, and we have played. So actually, it was quite easy to write a set for this.
Yeah.
But what they kind of want is, what it appears, they don't want heavy shit.
Right.
They just want more softer commercial side of that thing, of that. So they want some Blink.
Listeners, yeah, go on. Yeah.
They want some Blink. They want Offspring.
Green Day, I'm guessing.
Yeah. They want Stacey's Mum, Sugar We're Going Down, Year 3000. Yeah. They do also want shit like Twist and Shout, I'm a Believer, 9 to 5. You know, although we do 9 to 5, but we do it in a sort of pop punk style. All Star, Teenage Dirtbag, Buzzcocks.
I'm getting the vibe.
Offspring, Feeder, McFly, the Ataris, Blink. So
they've sort of just made it more
where they're coming from.
Pop punk rather than where you sort of go a bit more. Yeah,
they've gone a bit more middle of the road with it.
Yeah,
so that's fine. It was fine, but
yeah. Or I'll tell you what you could do: just play "Killing in the Name," and that'd be the perfect chance to do the line the song ends with. You know what I mean?
Yes.
My God.
And we go. Well, we just meaning of the song.
Yeah, exactly.
I tell you what, though, I did. I wrote a set list out, and I was like, cool. There's loads of songs we can play. We can get the 2 hours. That's no problem. And sometimes with this band, I don't really like doing it, but you can tell by their preferences or whatever, like maybe they do want it all a bit softer, or they want a few more older classics in there for the old people.
Yeah.
Don't just put something for the old people. What for the old people?
He's actually writing something for the old people.
But sometimes we'll go, do you know, it might be a bit of soft wedding. We'll just stick Mr. Brightside on as an additional encore.
Yeah.
And maybe that sort of, if the crowd's a little bit more homogenous in terms of those people attending. So I was like, I'll write the set. I'll put this feels like a Mr. Brightside one. So after tribute, I'll put Mr. Brightside. Scrolled further down the email because we're doing the DJ add-on. Do Not Plays Mr. Brightside.
Love it. Fair enough.
So, but what's interesting, I messaged our agency back and said it's all fine, but crazy list of Do Not Plays. And they even replied, and I didn't even spot this, they want 2 Paramore songs in the DJ set, but don't want the Paramore song we play. Who knows?
Well, lots to think about there.
Lots to think about for everyone there. Think about your decisions. But I want a new window, but I don't want to made of glass. What? Well, what do you want then? You know what I mean?
Is that a scenario that's happened?
No, but it's an analogy. Similar.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly.
Pop punk, but don't bloody pop punk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
should we wrap it
let's
up?
get out of here. Yeah. Thanks again to Tucker. Go and listen to his back catalogue, new album. Go and see him on tour. Top bloke. And,
he is top bloke. Can I say, it's so funny when we have a guest and then after the chat we'll say thanks Tucker, and then we'll talk about our shit for a while, and then you'll go thanks once again Tucker, and I completely forget that we had a guest because our conversation goes so left field. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if you want to keep that, but it's just funny. I go, oh yeah, of course. I thought we were just doing an episode.
Of course, yeah. We like to just bookend it. Bookend it a bit of fun.
Bookend it.
You know, we don't want to change who we are.
Absolutely not.
We'll be some lovely brioche buns to our lovely Tucker patty. You know what I mean?
Tucker patty.
So you're going to get a delicious burger. And this is, where people go wrong. They forget about the bread. keep the bread moist.
Yeah.
You can put all you want goodness in a hog roast in a thing, but if your buns are dry, it's rubbish.
Yeah, as we've learned on many weddings. Remember that wedding we did last year with the sugary pasta?
It was a wedding. Oh, the sugary pasta.
God, it was awful.
Awful.
Neil was the only one that ate the potatoes, you know?
Yeah, again, awful. It was all
They'd been
awful.
like quadruple cooked. And they were like brown.
In piss.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Drum and Drummer. You can find us on Instagram at Drum and Drummer Podcast. And you can send us an email to drumanddrummerpod@gmail.com. Remember, just pick up the sticks and twat it.